40 hours. A few housekeeping items. You are adults, so if you need to use the restroom or if you need to get up just to stretch or grab a snack, there's water and some snacks in the back. The restrooms are in this green building behind you, so you'll just go down the stairs, go straight through the middle opening, and then walk a little bit further back, and then there's a hallway that goes to the right and to the left, and there's restrooms on both sides. So those are there for you. We will take a break halfway through, so if you want to hold out for that, then we will take a break about halfway through. But if you need something before then, don't hesitate to get up if you need to. If you're online, you have Andy, and also in person, but if you're online, you've got Andy there for you. So if you have, I have the presentation open. I can't see the chat, so he'll be there to kind of monitor if you have any questions or if you have anything that you need from us. Make sure you don't hesitate to chime in and ask us, and he'll get my attention and we'll stop. So just be flexible. We've only done this one other time where we've had this like hybrid model where we have people in person and then we also have people at home. So if you're at home and you can't hear me at any point, please make sure you let me know. But we do have this great microphone here in the middle. So even if you're in person, the people at home can still hear you guys as well as far as questions and interactions and things like that. So the Wi-Fi is there, the password is there, QR code. I think that's all the housekeeping items that we have at the moment. Very quickly, a little bit about myself. My name is Jamie Ensteep. I was a classroom teacher for 16 years. I started in IPS the first part of my career, kindergarten, first grade, and then I moved to Southern Hancock Schools, which is in New Palestine, very small town on the east side of Indianapolis, and started teaching sixth grade there. Then moved into an innovation teacher position, where it's fifth and sixth grade, so a special area class. So I went from teaching all 4 subjects to teaching just innovation only, which was brand new in my district. So I kind of got to pioneer this brand new initiative where we were teaching computer science and STEM. I completely fell in love with STEM instruction about 6 years ago, and I actually received the Lilly Endowment Teacher Creativity Grant, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, and was able to travel to different iconic space centers across the country, and definitely instilled this huge love for space specifically, but also STEM instruction. So when I came back to the classroom, everything kind of shifted for me, and I got a whole new perspective on things. I applied for a grant from Tech Point Foundation for Youth to start a robotics team. Didn't know the first thing about robots, but I knew it looked exciting and it looked fun. And I was kind of tired of teaching, and so I was ready for something new. And started a couple teams at my school. My students absolutely loved it. I loved it. It brought me so much excitement. So I started more teams, ended up with 5 teams at my school, and then 10 teams at my school, and then across the whole district. And so about a year and a half ago, I saw a position at Tech Point Foundation for Youth as Director of Programs, and I thought, I think I could be really happy doing that, doing STEM and robots all the time. So that's how I kind of got to this position. But it wasn't that long ago that I was in your position. I've been the teacher that's taught all 4 subjects and trying to fit STEM in at the same time, and I've also been the teacher that teaches STEM as a special rotation, and trying to find the right curriculum because a lot of it is new, and there's not a lot, trying to decide what the best fit is. I taught several grade levels at the same time, 6 classes a day, the exact same thing, 6 times in a row. So hopefully I can connect to all of you on a level that of where each of you are at right now. And I am here for you as a resource. So I'm available to you. My email is there. My email signature has my cell phone number. You can text me, you can call me. My commitment, my job, my passion is to support you guys. Like I said, I've been there, so I know how hard it is, and I just want to do whatever I can to make it easier for you and more fun for you. Because let's be real, sometimes it's just not fun. And so I want to do whatever I can to help make it fun for you. So if you ever need me to come, especially if it's local and Indy, I can always come by your classroom and observe and help you with whatever you need. So that's what I love the most. So please don't be shy or hesitate if you need any kind of support from us. So we are a very small but mighty team. 50% of us are here right now. So it's amazing. I always tell this story. Like when I was applying for the job, of course, I knew who Tech Point Foundation was because I got a grant through them. but I never really took the time to look into who they were as an organization. And so when I applied for the job, I'm like, I need to figure out, what I'm applying for, and dug through and realized that it was such a small team. And I'm like, how in the world? Because I always saw them as this massive organization, but it is a small team, and then the joke's on me now because now I have all of this work, right, for this small team. But I love what I do. I absolutely love it. George Giltner is our president and CEO. Is anybody a robotics coach? Anybody after school robotics coach? Okay, awesome. So you may be familiar with George from the state competitions. He always speaks at those. So we host the robotics state competition at Lucas Oil Stadium. We want to elevate robotics to the same level as sports. That's why we want to do it in a place like Lucas Oil, so the kids understand, know that they're valued and it's important. And that's why we give trophies as big as they are, because we want them to realize how important robotics is. Bree is our director of foundation operations. She actually was leaving for London today, so she's not with us. And then obviously myself, and then Andy back in the back is our volunteer and event coordinator. So he's going to share with you just for a few minutes about kind of what his role is and how he can support you as well.
Can I come up here? So
why don't you?
People
take the stage.
Yeah, center stage. Good morning, everyone.
I'll get out of here. Good morning.
So I'm Andy, volunteer and events coordinator. Been here for 3 years, just recently 3 years. But basically my job is to ensure, specifically for what you guys are doing, that you guys feel supported. So just like Jamie has so graciously given you her phone number, don't call me if you have issues, call her. But I want to get volunteers in your classrooms to help out with your kids. So some of our donors are like Lilly, Salesforce, some of the larger companies here in the state, and they've got motivated like STEM professionals who want to come see what kids are doing today, because most of them, didn't have computer science in their schools. I mean, my computer, I know I don't look that old, but my computer classes are like typing classes, and so like kids doing this is crazy to them, and so they want to come and help and just be an extra set of hands. So you guys have already technically opted in to having a volunteer, so you're on a database for individuals to come select your school to come bring STEM professionals in, and I'll make an introduction once somebody selects you, probably a little bit later in the year. But if you want to opt out of that, just let me know. But you can expect to hear from me when school starts. Don't worry, I won't bug you like right at the start of August when you all start, probably towards the middle of August. And then when somebody selects your classroom, then I'll make that introduction and kind of get you guys kicked off. It's part of our STEM partner program. But just like Jamie, if you need anything from me, volunteer-wise or whatever it is, just feel free to reach out. Like I said, 50% of the staff is here, so you reach out to one of us, you'll get another one of us. So we're happy to help. We're here to make sure you're supported. Super excited that you guys are doing this. It's super new to us, and we've been friends with VEX for a while, but this whole VEX GO thing is crazy to me. So I applaud you all for taking this on and getting in your classrooms. Yeah?
What do volunteers do?
So that's a great question. Whatever you need them to do is the easy question. So when you have this in your classroom, right, all of your kids, you're going to kind of not cut them loose, right? But you're going to let them go and explore STEM, right? So the volunteer is really there as an extra set of hands to break down the stereotypes of what it means to be a STEM professional, knowing that, Albert Einstein, while is a great STEM icon, isn't necessarily what a STEM professional looks like today, right? It could be your mom, your dad, neighbors, whoever it may be. So they're to break down the stereotypes of what it means to be a STEM professional, connect what they're doing to the real world, because kids are always fond of asking, well, why do I need to know this? And your response is, what's going to be on the test? Well, they do need to know it because it is on the test. The STEM professional is there to say, well, yeah, you got to study for this, but I also utilize this in my daily work. So they're there to connect to the real world, to be that extra set of hands. If you're in front of the class, letting them know what they're going to be doing for the day. They can be in the back, kind of getting everything together. So it's really just an extra set of hands. And however you want to utilize them, feel free to utilize them. Just don't let them teach the class. That's your job. Any other questions? All right. If you need anything throughout this whole thing and don't want to stop Jamie, I'll be in the back. I can answer 60% of the questions.
I think you could do more than that. But it's very helpful for them to see an actual person that does a STEM job, and to be able to share with the kids, this is what I do, in my real life. Like things you're learning right now, you're going to need those things. You're going to need those. And so I love our STEM partner program. And like he said, you're all already in it. If you want to opt out, we'll just need to let him know, and then he will leave you alone, I promise. But it's a great resource. Just a little bit about TechPoint Foundation for Youth, so you know who we are. So our mission is to bring STEM experiences to the state of Indiana, to all schools in the state of Indiana. So we are specific to Indiana. We want students to be inspired so they want to pursue a STEM career. That's our ultimate goal, is for them to pursue a STEM career. We are lacking in that area, and so that's part of our mission. And our priority population would be students that are resource limited. So these are your kiddos that receive free and reduced lunch, so that we use that data. Are female, so we need more girls in STEM, as we all know. And then students of color. So those are our 3 priority populations. And so when we look at programs and we look at initiatives, we keep that in mind, that those are the areas of the populations that we're going to put most of our focus and our efforts on. We're in all 92 counties, so we have robotics programming in every single county in Indiana, and we're in 51% of schools. Our goal is 100% of schools. We still have a ways to go, but we're halfway there. And we have more elementary and middle school robotics teams in Indiana than anyone else in the country. So Indiana is clearly leading the way in robotics, and that is our biggest program. We have other programs at TechPoint Foundation, but robotics is our largest program. So we started our initiative back in the 2015-16 school year. That's the year I got my robotics grant and started my robotics team. And you can see now the difference and how many teams there are now. So it was very centrally located, and now we've expanded and we're across the whole state of Indiana. And we host the largest competition at Lucas Oil each year, like I mentioned before. So if you don't have a robotics team at your school and you're interested, there are still grants available for those as well. The GO grants are brand new, so they're hot, everyone's excited. We have twice the number of applicants than what we can pass out, so you were part of the elite that got chosen. So far I've had to turn away about 50 schools. But we do have after school grants still available. So if you're interested in coaching a robotics team, no experience is necessary. Like myself, I knew nothing about robotics whatsoever. And we still have openings for those, and our first training is next Wednesday. So if you're interested in becoming an after-school robotics coach, consider that as well. You can email me, or you can go to our website to get the application. But the application is very similar to what you filled out for the GO grant. So we're doing an overview of everything. I'm going to kind of explain to you why Vexco. Yeah.
So if you apply for the grant, will you know soon enough to be able to attend next Wednesday?
Yep. Okay. And then I'll offer an additional one in the fall. So if it's too soon for you, then I could always get you in the fall as well. But it would be after school starts. Yeah. So I'm going to kind of go into why Vexco. We did a pilot with 8 schools in central Indiana. So we did this pilot. They were our guinea pigs. We went and observed them. We asked for feedback from the teachers because we wanted to make sure that this was good before. I spent several months looking into it. I fell in love with it, but I'm like, I'm just one person. I need to make sure that this is going to be successful in classrooms. And so we did that in 8 schools. We gave them the equipment. As we said, as long as you let us come and watch you and learn from you. And all 8 of them absolutely fell in love with Vexco, so we knew we were good to move forward with the next 50 that we're now awarding. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We're going to do some building, so we're going to get straight into building here in just a few minutes. Then we're going to look at the online lesson library so that you know as a teacher how to access all of the lessons that go with the equipment. Then we're going to do some coding. So we're going to build a little bit more, add some coding to that, because there's lots of building that doesn't involve coding, and then there's lots of coding as well. So that's one of the things I love about it, is it's not just coding. There's also the engineering, the design. I'm going to get ahead of myself. There's so many cool things. And then I'm going to share with you some resources and support that can help you along the way, and then we'll have time for questions. But if you have a question along the way, don't feel like you have to wait till the end. If you have something you want to ask right away, then please just go for it. Okay, so VEX started with just IQ and this V5 right here. So these 2 middle ones. In the last year and a half, 2 years, they expanded because they want to have this full spectrum of offering VEX at every single grade level or every single age group. And so they then added 1, 2, 3 Go and the work cell, the V5 work cell. So 1, 2, 3 is pre-K. I say pre-K first grade. Now, I wouldn't necessarily agree with all the grade levels they put, just based off experience and feedback. But the VEX 1, 2, 3 is geared towards the lower elementary. So this is just coding. There's no building. It's just understanding the commands and the coding. And so they basically have this little disc. They program it, and then they push the buttons. It has like buttons on top. It's like arrows, and then they put those in, and they hit OK, and then it does exactly what they say. So it's a very big overview introduction to coding. Obviously, Vexco, they put grade 3+. I don't agree with that. We piloted it in grades 2 through 6, and it was a hit in all of those grades. So I think you really need to ignore the recommendation on grades and you do what works for your students, because there's such a huge amount of content on this lesson library that there's truly something for all grades. And we've seen so many grade levels enjoy. I think even first grade would be a good fit, honestly. And then IQ, they're saying grade 6+, but again, we do IQ after school robotics teams as young as kindergarten, honestly. They can start as young as you want them to, but I'd say mostly we see grades 3 through 6, or 3 through 8, I should say. We have a lot of middle schoolers that do VEX IQ. And then the V5 is truly high school. There are some middle schools that do V5, but it's mostly high school. And then the work cell is brand new, and this is more classroom-based robotics for the high school level, which I'm sure a lot of you aren't interested in. But in case you know someone that might be, it's basically like like Vexco has the robotic arm, but then V5 also has a robotic arm, but it's factory and automation. So it's introducing those skills of factory and automation. Really great for like a technology class or an engineering class at the high school level. It's and they come with these kits like you see here. It's like 2 to 3 students per kit. We tested this yesterday because of the hybrid model. We can't play this and for you to be able to hear it, but I highly encourage you to watch it later. We created this as a promo video after the pilot was done so that we could show potential donors how amazing Vexco is and how much kids are absolutely loving it. And then we shared this at a fundraising event and pull those heartstrings, get those people to open their wallets and give money so that we can buy more kits to give to you guys. So it's really worth watching. It's only a few minutes long, so you might want to go back and watch that later. It's basically asking second graders, what do you like about Vexco? And their responses are awesome. Oh, it's not right. Okay. So what I've learned from all of my research, from all of playing around with the equipment, what our pilot teachers have learned, are these are the 4 main things that Vexco does. It allows every single child to participate. After school robotics, you have to opt in or you have to be chosen. So in my case, I would have 100 kids that want to be in after school robotics. Well, an after school robotics team is 4 or 5, maybe 6 kids on a team. So it's a very small amount. And it's one robot, 1 kit. So this allows every single child to participate in an entire classroom or in sometimes an entire grade level or an entire school. And in some cases, students won't opt in to robotics because they feel like I'm not smart enough for that. I don't want to be a nerd, But with VEX GO, this sounds bad, but they're forced to do it, right? So you're doing it as part of your classroom curriculum, as part of your day, and so you're forcing them to do it. Then all of a sudden you have students that are thinking, I really do love this. Like I didn't think I was going to like this, but I really do like this. And not only do I like it, but I'm actually really good at this. So maybe I will try out for robotics, or maybe I will pursue this where I didn't think I could before. So it gives them a whole new level of competence, a whole new level of confidence that maybe they didn't recognize or know they had. But just like a lot of other things, they don't know it until we force them to do it, right? So it gives access to every single child. The equipment is designed for younger elementary students, so the pieces are colorful and they're a little bit softer, they're more pliable, they're easier to work with, so they're designed for smaller hands. That closes the gap for the younger students that want to participate in robotics. So if you have students that are younger that maybe want to be on an after-school robotics team but they're not old enough yet, you can say, well, you can work with VEX GO, and then when you're a little bit older, then you can try out for the robotics team. So it kind of closes that gap and kind of prepares them, exposes them to it so that they're kind of primed and ready and more excited about after-school robotics. And then, of course, provides a valuable STEM experience. There are so many different STEM options out there, curriculums and activities and so many different programs that you can pick up and that you can use. But it increases engagement. It offers the hands-on, the project-based learning. It gives them, it gets all the STEM with the language arts, the math, the science. So you're going to see here in a minute all the standards that can be reached in one lesson that go beyond just the STEM, that go beyond just the engineering or the coding. So when you're struggling to get all of these content standards covered, I think you're going to see with Go, you can get a lot covered in one lesson as opposed to isolating, okay, this is math right now, and then STEM or in science. There's a lot of lessons that you can incorporate math in. For example, this rubber band car, if you this winding car, they have activities that have like multiplication charts where they build the car and then they drive the car on the multiplication chart to practice their multiplication tables. They have a device that you can build to help understand fractions in a visual way, a more conceptual way. So they really thought of the best way to incorporate all of these different standards. And if you are a Project Lead the Way school, they work very well hand in hand. So we love Project Lead the Way. We are not competitors of Project Lead the Way. We have a board member from Project Lead the Way, and we specifically asked her to look at it and decide, like, is this competitive or does it complement? And she said it absolutely complements. They work very well together. It's not one more thing. She felt like it was a very good fit. And lots of our pilot teachers are also Project Lead the Way teachers, and they had the same feedback for us. They didn't feel like it was conflicting at all. They really felt like it was a good combination. So if you are, I know we have a lot of Project Lead the Way schools, so if you're thinking like that might be an issue, I think you're going to find that it works out very well. You are getting the medium, so the classroom bundle. VEX says 20 students because they say 2 per kit. We think, based on the pilot, we think 2 to 3 students per kit works. So we're saying 20 to 30 students for that medium kit. But I want to put this up here in case you decide that you want to find funding to purchase additional kits, or if you want to purchase any additional equipment, you can get a single kit without the storage. You can get the kit with the storage, and then there's also the bundle. So if your principal is loving it and says we want to get this, we want to put this in more classrooms, these are the prices that you're going to see. It seems a little expensive, but when you think about what you're getting, you don't have to replace it every year. It's the exact same every single year. You're not buying anything new. Nothing is consumable. So it really is, if you approach it as more of an investment, and we don't get a cutback, I should say that. We don't get any money from VEX, not at all. We just literally have chosen that this is what we feel like works the best, and we are initiating it and putting our stamp of approval on it and helping to bring it into your classroom by funding it. We don't get any, unfortunately, we don't even get a discount, so don't feel like I don't want it to feel like I'm selling you something. I just want you to be aware in case you want to purchase anything extra. And then at the very end will be a resource page of the slide, and it has a link to the VEX Robotics store, so there's other things you can buy, like the more field tiles if you wanted to. They have a whole storage kit that you can purchase if you want to. That's like on a rolling cart, so if you're mobile and you're going into classrooms, that might be something you want to consider. There's lots of options there. So the one that you're getting with the grant, I think most of you have received it. If you haven't received it yet, you should be receiving it very soon. But you'll be getting the 10 kits, and it's 2 boxes per kit. So for every 2 to 3 students, you should have 2 boxes. One that has like the motors and the electronics in it, and then a box that has all parts in it. So you get 2 boxes per set of students, 24 field walls, 10 field tiles, and you can configure those however you want. You don't have to use them at all. And we'll talk a little bit later about different ways that you can use them, but they're there for you to configure however you like. You can make one big, we just used 8 of them and made one big rectangle in the back, but you can see here, like this one has less. So however you want to do that, you have the 10 extra pen tools. So if you guys haven't used the pen tools yet, or haven't looked into them, the IQ people are going nuts for these. And you can buy these individually if you want to, but they are an amazing tool, especially for the younger kids, when you don't have to go around constantly to take things apart for them or take little pieces out for them, because it has 3 functions. It has the peg puller, so you just put the peg in there and then you pull it out. And then it has I don't know if the official terms are, I'm going to say the peg poker, where you can use this to poke the pegs out. And then the prier, I'm making all of this up, where you can use this piece to pry the pieces apart. So they're phenomenal. I don't know why it took them so long to come up with this.
I have those, and I just used the pull thing. I've had them for a year. I didn't know the other two options.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They're very, very handy, and it will help you and eliminate you having to walk around constantly. You know, it's like opening milks at lunch. You don't have to do that. You want to empower them to do it on their own. So you show them how to use it, let them practice it, and then let them do it. And they'll figure it out. They'll get it. Don't let them use their teeth.
Yes.
I highly recommend avoiding the teeth because they swallow them, they choke on them, they spread their germs all over them. So encourage this. It came with 2 extras, I think. Oh no, 10 extras. So you have 1 per box, but then you also have 10 extras that came as well. So those are very handy. And then the carrying bags, which are helpful, especially if you're mobile and you need to move your kids to different rooms. And then you have the 2 spare parts bins. Those are very handy. Those spare parts are very handy, especially because you've got these little boxes of the pens, which we have all kinds of feedback for VEX. So trust me, like the very funny story, I had my pilot teachers in here and I said, you know, I need your feedback on even the boxes and how they function. I said, I'm a little bit concerned about these little boxes, like when the kids are opening them, and one of our teachers opened it and the pegs went everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Exhibit A, that's exactly what I'm thinking is going to happen. They don't open really easily, so when the kids force it, and then these pegs just go flying everywhere. So they're nice as far as the size and the compactness of them, but something to keep in mind that those pieces will go flying. So the extra parts bin is very handy because when you can't find a specific piece, you can use those extra parts to grab it from there.
At least they're brightly colored.
What?
At least they're brightly
That's
colored.
right.
Because the Vex kits are like blue and
Yes,
black.
and gray. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so the colors definitely help. And then the charging hubs, put that there so I wouldn't fall. The charging hubs are my favorite after teaching STEM with so many different technology and so many different items. It has the 1 outlet and then it has the 5 ports. So you can plug in all of your batteries, there's 2 of these, so you have 10 batteries altogether. The batteries do not come charged, so before your first day with your kids, you definitely want to make sure you get all your batteries out of all the boxes and charge them because they don't come charged. But at least it only takes up 2 outlets for 10, where I used to do like Spiros and I would have like every outlet in my room would be covered with surge protectors and so many things plugged in. So I really appreciate the thoughtfulness on the charging. And then you have the 2 parts posters, which are really handy. They're very large if you haven't opened them yet, and they're very handy when you're teaching the kids the parts names, and when you're saying you're going to get this piece, they can actually go over to the poster and check it to make sure they have the right piece. So those are very handy. And then some other things that you might need, student iPads. So if your students don't have iPads, there's plenty to do with the kids without the iPads. But if you're going to be coding at all, if you're doing any kind of coding, they really need that iPad. They can do it from a device, they can do it from a laptop. It's just a lot handier if they have an iPad. So it's not impossible, and we'll look at that here in a minute so you can kind of see the difference. But it does help a lot if they have that. A teacher mobile device, so you need either your own smartphone or an iPad. It has to be a mobile device because that's what you use to manage all of the brains. Not the student brains. That would be nice, but I guess I have my own. I could use my own instead of using yours. So that's the brain is the one that has the power button and it has all the ports. So the mobile device you download. We'll do this here in a minute, so don't panic. But we'll download the teacher the classroom app, and that's how you keep track of all of the brains in the room. So you know what they're like. You will once the battery is plugged in, you'll know the level of the charge. You'll be able to locate them, so you'll have a locate button and it'll turn the light yellow so you can find them in the room. It will allow you to update them. So every time before you start a class, you want to make sure your brains are charged, you want to make sure make sure your batteries are charged, and make sure your brains are updated. The nice thing is it's all built in, so you don't have to plug it into a computer to update it. You open that classroom app, it will show you which ones need updated. You just say update all, and it just takes a few minutes, and then you're good to go. So we'll look at the classroom app here in a few minutes. And then different activities require some different consumables like pipe cleaners, paper, scissors, colored pencils, things like that. So very standard items, nothing that I think you're gonna have to go out of your way to get. But just so you know, you want to look at the materials list ahead of time to see what else is included or needed for that lesson. The build instructions I really love because they're so easy to follow for students. They do one direction per page. And anyone who's worked with kids on directions, you know what a gift that is because it's just one single direction and they know like something has to happen on this page before I go on to the next page. They will give like a visual, they'll say, okay, this is the direction it should go, and this is not the direction it should go. And they outline it in pink and they show the path, and they'll put an eyeball and it's indicator to students, pay close attention to this and make sure it's the direction it should be going. In each direction, each page shows what piece is needed for that direction, and then it has that zoomed in image. So I'm going to show you an example. And then this is a link, this is a fast link to every single Go build, so it has every single thing that you could possibly build through VexGo. But it shows that on the front page, it shows exactly what the outcome should be. Some students prefer to get all their pieces gathered at first, so if that's their style, then they could grab all their pieces first. And then it goes in, shows that they need these pieces, and then you can see step 1, it shows exactly where everything belongs. Step 2, step 3, so I think it's very well done and very organized. And one of our pilot teachers on our feedback, she shared this and I thought it was so good and I wanted to pass it on. She tells her students that for the building process to follow the 4 Ps. So I'm sure she probably has it posted in her classroom, but she says check the position. Which way does the piece face? And then the placement. Which holes do I use? Where am I going to place that piece? And then ask yourself, then it's time to push and put the pieces together and then ask yourself, is it perfect? I put it together, now check the picture. There's nothing more frustrating than kids who go go all these steps and get halfway done or even almost all the way done and then realize they've made a mistake. And then they have to go back and take it all apart to fix that one mistake. So I think if you can be proactive and follow these 4 Ps, I think you'll have less breakdowns when they realize they made a mistake halfway through the process. So I would love for you guys to get a sense for the pieces and the build instructions. So if you click on, we're going to start building a frog. So there's a whole lesson on the life cycle of a frog. So we're going to click on the frog cycle build instructions. And I want you guys to use your kits to build the first 2 phases of the frog. So the tadpole. So we're going to go tadpole and then tadpole with back leg. So you're going to go through slides 24. So slides 1 through 24. So once again, you're going to click on frog life cycle build instructions right here. Click there, that's linked for you. Go into the build instructions, grab your kits, and then go ahead and start building the tadpole and the tadpole with the back legs. So slides 1 through 24. Any questions on that? Okay, so we'll talk about storage a little bit while you're working. We learned from our pilot teachers that the storage can work however you choose for it to work as a teacher. So some teachers take extra time at the end of class to make sure that every single piece goes back into the boxes exactly as it's supposed to. It is really nice because the bottom, the inserts, have pictures of what belongs there. So if there's any doubt or any question, you can tell the kids to look at the bottom of the box so they can see what belongs there. And everything does fit perfectly. Some teachers don't like this because it takes too long to get the kids to put everything back where it belongs. So some teachers have taken the plastic inserts out and let them just kind of throw everything in. It's whatever works for you as the teacher. You're the one managing the classroom, however you want to manage your time with your students. Also the motors and the battery, they have those, the cords attached to them. So we have issues with, there's not quite enough room for them. And so they end up smashing them down and then they get broken. So if nothing else, I would pay close attention to make sure that they are very careful about the cords, that they don't get bent and torn or ripped, because that's going to be your most expensive pieces to replace. So I would make sure maybe you take the time to teach them the procedures on how you want those to be put away, or maybe you put them somewhere completely separate. That's entirely up to you, but that would be my tip, to make sure that those pieces stay together, because what will happen at the end of class, they'll be in a rush and they'll just smash that lid shut to say that they're done, and then they'll end up smashing some of the pieces inside. We also learned that the black clasps break pretty easily, so something else to keep in mind, that those do break off. And they seem to go back on pretty easily, but they're probably not as strong as maybe your kids think they are. Andy, how are the teachers at home doing with the frog?
Good so far.
You might need to show proof of their frog.
That's right. Everybody turn your cameras
Yeah,
on.
let's see those tadpoles. Oh, look, James has his done.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Nice job, James. You get a gold star. Yeah. There's always one, right?
Always. They have, not all the classes see that. It just
All right,
depends.
so take a look at this slide. I want you to kind of get an overview. You just built the first two phases
The four will follow that rotation.
of the four phases of the frog's growth. We're going to look at what that looks like for you as the teacher as far as the lesson plan. But before we do that, this is what every single lesson in the STEM library, every single one is set up in this way. So it's kind of overwhelming and daunting when you first look at it. When I first started digging into all the lessons, I was extremely overwhelmed. It's a lot. So I don't want you to feel that way. So we're going to kind of start big picture and then zoom in a little bit. Every single lesson is set up in this way, where there's a teacher prep section and then there's the actual instruction. So the front facing, like what you are going to say to the students, what you're going to show them. In the teacher prep, it starts with your goals and standards, much like a lot of lessons do. Your objectives, so what you can plan on accomplishing during that lesson, and then an overview, what to expect. And then there's a summary, so that's where all of your materials are going to be listed. Any kind of like a slideshow of any images you're going to show them. Any material is all going to be listed in that section, and then you're going to get an overview of the entire unit. And then you have this is the front facing. So you switch to the blue portion. The first part is engage. So you're going to give an introduction to your students, kind of give some background knowledge, connect some things to some real life situations. And then that whole part is designed to capture their attention and get them talking, get them excited, engaged about what you're getting ready to do with them for that lesson. And then it has a whole class activity. So it's a very quick for the whole class to do together. So at this point, there's no equipment out, there's no materials out. This is just a whole class. Then you're going to move into the play portion, and this is split into three parts. So you have part one that usually has a task or a challenge that you're giving them, and then a mid-play break. So you're halfway through, okay, now do this, and then a part two. And then the students run an investigation, a test, they make predictions, and then the final part is the share. So I think we're all familiar with, at the very end, they need the opportunity to share what they've done, to talk about what they've done, and that's what that part does. So they can kind of process and think back about what they've done and then discuss it with others, or in some cases discuss it with the entire group. Or if you have a STEM partner in the classroom, what a great opportunity for them to share with their STEM partner, with the STEM professional, this is what I created, this is what I made, and this is what it does, and this is why I made it this way. So the Fun Frogs, it's 2 labs. So the first lab is what you guys just built. So you don't have to go, you guys know yourselves as learners. If it's overwhelming for you to go here, then just watch me. If you want to be the driver of it, if you want to see it, then feel free to go there and use that link. But if you'd rather just watch me, I would recommend just watching right now, and then next we'll dig into it and you can kind of explore on your own. Otherwise, you tend to get overwhelmed. This is what I've seen in other trainings, and then you get lost in the clicks, and then you don't see the how it works. So this is the Fun Frogs 2 labs. So this is your overview of the entire unit. So that's the overview of both labs, and then that just gives you the option to print it. And then here are your 2 labs. So most units have 4 labs, which is generally 4 days. So they generally say like 1 lab equals 1 day. Now that's not always true. Sometimes depending on your grade level or the level of your students, you might have to break it up into more than 1 day. But generally every lab is about 40 minutes. So however that might work for your schedule, then you can decide. But most lab units are 4 to 6. This one happens to be 2, which makes it for a really good one for training because it's short and you can kind of see it in its entirety. It shows you right here that you're going to build the frog life cycle, and then in lab 2 you're going to continue building the life cycle. And in lab 1 you're going to create a habitat and begin your field journal as you build the first 2 phases of the tadpole. So I'm going to open up this lab. This is that outline I was just showing you on that last slide, where it has the goals and standards, the summary, engage, play, and share. I can also advance by just scrolling through it, but these are shortcuts to get there as well. So here are the goals. I'm just going to briefly go over everything. Here are my objectives. This is the activity that's going to take place, and then this is my assessment. Here's my connection to standards. So everything in Go is connected to NGSS, which, as you know, in Indiana, Indiana has to be the outlier and have different standards than everyone else. So I have reached out to them and I said, Vexco is going to be huge in Indiana. I really would love it if you could add Indiana science standards. So they did take that into consideration, and hopefully it'll happen, but we'll see. But it does have, but I know we're all accustomed and used to finding that, how it connects to Indiana standards. So it does have the NGSS, and then it has the Common Core as well. So this one has an ELA standard attached to it. And again, I did ask them, they do have some Texas standards because they're based out of Texas, but I've asked them again to add the Indiana. So we'll see what happens, but then I can go next. So now I'm on to the summary. So this tells me all the materials that I need for this lab. So I'm going to need my Vexco kit. This has 1 Vexco tile that I'm going to need. It has my pen tool that I would need, my build instructions. So if I were to click that, you would see the exact instructions that you guys just used to build the first 2 phases of your frog, okay? So it's just an easy link right there for them. I'm also going to need this image slideshow. This is one of the things I love about Vexco. All of these resources they give you are Google Docs. So you can copy them and edit them however you want, which makes it really nice because you can make it yours. So if I click on this, I will see that this is my slideshow that will be front facing to my students. So when I start my lab, I'm going to talk about the fun frogs that we're going to make. You can give them role responsibilities if you want to. You don't have to, but they suggest that you give them role responsibilities, which does help sometimes when you have, especially in a group of 3, that they're taking turns building. They're passing they're passing the iPad and taking turns building, and maybe somebody is the journalist. It has real life images. So this is a frog in the habitat. Here's a frog in habitat. So it has every single image that you're going to need for your lesson. So if I go back over here, so that link is there. The robotics rules and routines, if you want this, you can use it. It's editable, so you can change it to be whatever you want it to be. But it has the builder responsibilities, the journalist responsibilities, and then if you wanted that accountability where you wanted them to be able to fill it out and turn it in and say, this is what I did, this is what I did. If you need that for a grade or if you need that for accountability, that is there for you. Camera, iPad, or other device. So that is recommended. The field journal page, again, this is editable, so you can change it to be whatever you want it to be. Or if it's just graph paper basically, so if you already had a journal that you wanted them to use, you could use that. You could also use an online journal, which is really handy with the pictures, because I think it's called, I always forget, but there's like a science journal app that you can use. And it's basically, or you could even use, what is the one on Apple? I'll come up with it. But you can use it, if you're all iPads, you could, rather than use paper, you could just use even a Google Slides presentation where they would take a picture of what they've created. You could even, or you could have a piece of paper, they could take a picture of that and upload it. So there's lots of ways to keep it digital if you prefer. And then there's a science, I think it's called Science Journal, I think that's what the app is called. But then they don't have to use any paper at all. They can just do all of that on the app. Let me go back. Pencils, classroom craft materials, so paper, markers, pipe cleaners, small blocks, wood pieces, so that's part of the lesson. And then this is optional, but you'll see this referenced through just about every single lesson. There is this Get Ready, Get VEX Go. I think it's geared towards younger students, so you can decide how you want to use it. But I've seen some teachers that have printed this and like bound it and laminated it and used it as like a classroom book. But it's a great introduction overall. So it'd be like a great day one with Vexco, because as you read it, it introduces, it says, "Hi, I'm Joe, and Joe the astronaut is in your box." So right now he's in a few pieces, but every single kit has Joe. And so it says, "I'm Joe, I'm the astronaut." And then as you go through the book with them, it introduces what Vexco is. I'm going to skip a little bit so you can see. It introduces the kit, so it shows them like what kinds of pieces they'll find in their kit. And then it introduces the pen tool, so it shows them how to use it. And then they actually build Josh together. So they build this guy Josh together. And then Joe meets Josh, and they're best friends forever. So it's a little primary, but I think it's a great way to introduce the kit on day one. And so you'll see this linked in, I think, just about every single lesson that they refer to. And just know that you can use it however you see fit. So then I'm ready to engage my students. I'm ready for my book. So this is where they are using that book, but you're asking basic questions. What are some things that we know about the life of frogs? Where they live in nature? Have you ever seen one in real life? How do they move? Does that change in their lifetime? So you have that class discussion right there. And then you lead them to the overall question. What kinds of natural elements are present in a frog's habitat? And then they're going to actually build that habitat. So they're going to make the tadpoles. After they've completed their tadpole, then they're going to describe it in their journal. And then it says construct models of tadpoles with back legs. Upon completion, they will complete the next page of the field journal. So that's how far you guys are. You've got the back legs on. Every single lesson in the engage section has this acts and asks. So the acts is what the teacher will do, and the asks is how the teacher will facilitate. So I don't know that you'll have time to go through all of those, but I think it's nice to have options, and you can use as much or as little as you like. But that is in every single lesson. Then you're going, at this point, so you can see, you'll have that presentation probably on another tab, and you would open up the picture of the frog in the habitat so all the students can see the frog in the habitat, and then you'll instruct the students that together they're going to construct the frog habitat. And they're going to model it on the sample images, and then they're going to vote on which of the two samples to use. So here's sample 1, here's sample 2, and then using the Vexco kit materials and classroom craft materials, students will build a habitat for a frog. So you can see they'll have that, you saw that image on the slideshow, so you can show that to them. Here's an example of a frog habitat, and they're just using the pieces out of the kit to make that habitat. And they're going to use that for the rest of the unit. So they need to have it big enough to include multiple frogs. So here's some different strategies. And this is what I mean, there's so much content, there's no way, I put on my teacher hat and I'm like, there's no way I could get through all of this in one class. There's no way. So that's where you have to kind of pick and choose. If you need it to happen in one class, you just have to cut it down a little bit. So they're going to use the build instructions. There's your tadpole. And then they're gonna write a description of the tadpole's face, the frog's life, and put it in their field journal. So just lots of, here's your mid-play break and group discussion. How did your build go? Were there any questions about the instructions? So there's your back legs. Trying to go fast because we don't have a lot of time. And I'm going to go next. This is the share portion. So here's all my discussion prompts that I can use. Again, if I did all of this, I mean, this would take forever. So I like that there's a lot, but just know, don't put that pressure on yourself to do every single thing. Pick and choose what works for you and for your class. So that was lab. Any questions so far on what I just showed you? Every single lab is laid out just like that. It's just different content for each one. Okay. So let me go back here. I think, okay, I'm gonna go over teacher resources really fast. And then after this, we'll take a break. So let's everybody together go. I want you guys to know where to access everything. So you're going to start by going to, open up a tab and go to VexRobotics.com. And then once we get there, I would recommend just bookmarking it so you don't have to worry about losing it again. So all of your curriculum, all of your lessons are going to be found this way. So VexRobotics.com. This is where you have, remember that image I showed you with the 1, 2, 3, go, IQ, all of those are listed at the top. So you want to go to go. Is everybody okay online, Andy? I'm assuming they can still see my screen. Okay. So you're going to go to go. This is, they want you to buy it right away, obviously. But if you go to education, so I went to VexRobotics.com, switch to go, and then now I'm in education. And then I'm going to come down to curriculum, STEM labs. And it would make sense for this to be straight into the Go STEM lab, but unfortunately you still have to scroll down and click on Vexco again. Right with me?
Can we do that one up here too?
Yeah.
I got behind a little. We can go to this.
And then this is what I would bookmark because every single lesson, every single activity is going to come out of this site. So this is what I would bookmark so that you can get here a lot faster next time. But basically you're going to go to Vex Robotics. I think you could probably, actually now that I think about it, instead of hitting go up here, I bet you could probably just go to education and go straight to the go one. So this is your teacher portal. This is where everything is going to be, everything you could possibly need is right here. If you scroll down past this initial dashboard, this is where your lesson library is. So you can filter it by level of experience. You can filter it by subject, so coding, engineering, math, science. And then you can filter it by type. So an activity series would be like a one-off, like it would be 1 or 2, a handful of just activities. And then a STEM lab would be a unit, so 2 to 6 lessons that form a unit altogether. So you can filter that to kind of get an idea. I like how these like thumbnails give you a very good overview. So it shows you grade levels, ages, it shows you total minutes. So this one is 6 labs, which is 240 minutes. So that's the 40 minutes per lab. It shows you the essential questions that are answered. And the main thing is engineering. I highly recommend Intro to Building for your very first thing that you do with your students, because it just like that book, it starts with that book and introduces them to the kit, but then it also shows them, I'll go and click on it so you can see. It has the 6 labs and they build on each other. So you start with the kit introduction, and then they build a NASA flagpole, and then they do a launch pad, and then a spaceship, and then a Mars buggy, and then a Mars base build. So this is just a really, for their very first time, it's a good one to start with for the Intro to Building. And while we're in here, I will show you that You also have a student certificate, so if that motivates your students, once that is finished, you can go to the print student certificate. You can put in the student's name and then generate certificate, and then you could print, have a certificate with your student's name on it. Some students are really motivated by that, so especially if you're finishing a whole lab and you want to be able to give them something to show that, or an entire unit, you could give them that to show that they completed it. So you have those. I'm just going to go back to my units.
Does that have one tied into the little book? Or is
Yeah,
that
yeah, you can use the book in any of them, but that's the one that introduces the book. Yeah. So you have your teacher portal here. This has everything. So this is that image I just showed you that had all the things laid out. There's so many resources here. There's lots of little videos along the way. If you are trying to convince your principal to buy more equipment or your superintendent to get more at other schools in your district, this would be a great place to go because it has all that verbiage of like why VEX GO, why is this important, what are students learning, how is it connected to content standards. This has a direct link to that PDF book if you wanted that. It has an implementation guide. This is that why use VEX GO, that would be perfect for your administrator. Has a pacing guide, cumulative and one-to-one pacing guide. All of your standards, so I'm going to go here so you can see, this has every single standard that's covered. I'm going to go United States. And it's all in an Excel sheet, so you have the NGSS, you have ISTE, you have CSTA, you have Common Core Math, Common Core Language Arts. The text, that's the math and ELA, that's the Texas ones. Obviously they're not relevant, but I just need them to add 2 more tabs down here for Indiana. But you can see how helpful this is. It has the standard, it has where that standard is met in each of the lessons.
Could you have more than one lesson going at the same time? Is the kid set up for that? So like, could I have a first grade lesson going, but then a different lesson for second grade?
It just depends on what equipment is required from that lesson.
Right.
That's the tricky part, and why you might want to try to convince your administrator to buy more equipment, because it's really hard to share it across. A lot of them build on each other. Now, VEX would tell you that you could build it in a class, have them take it apart, and then have your new class come in and build it, but I don't think that's accurate. They don't have anybody who's in a classroom on a daily basis, so they don't realize that is not realistic. But in their mind, 40 minutes is enough time to build something, take it apart, put it back in the box for the next class to build it. And then they expect the kids to come back the next day and rebuild it so they can build on it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. So that's what they would tell you. But in reality, if I were still teaching a special area class, I think I would rotate it. Like I'd be doing it with one class, and then once they're done, then I'd rotate it to the next class. Like I might have several activities going on. Like maybe I'm doing Project Lead the Way with, maybe I have four second grade classrooms. And maybe I have enough that I can split it. So 2 of those classrooms are going to do VEX GO, 2 are going to do Project Lead the Way, or maybe I have 6, because I used to have 6 classes, and then I would have like 2 be doing Spiros or something. And then they'd have, 4 weeks or however long doing those lessons, and then I would just rotate them.
So did you see them once a week then, when you did that?
I saw them so I had it for 4.5 weeks, every other day.
Okay.
And then I would swap and have the other half of the, so I have 6 classes a day. But if I didn't have enough equipment for any, like I did the same thing for like micro bits or little bits. Like I would do the same, I didn't have enough equipment. So I would do like 2 classes would do that, and then when they were finished, and 2 and 2, and then I would just rotate. I know it's a lot, but.
Yeah, because I'm special area too, and they're, instead of seeing some of the classes weekly, we're gonna see them all daily. And I'm like,
Yeah.
racking my brain right now.
Yeah. I think that's, if you can, it depends on if you can find lessons, if you explore the library and find lessons that don't require the same equipment or the same materials, but at some point you're gonna get to a place where you're like, the
Right.
class needs that. So,
Okay, yeah, I just have to think about that.
yeah, definitely something to think about. Okay, so let me go back really fast to, not that guy. Too many tabs open. Okay. See what I mean? There's so much stuff that you end up getting lost in. I was here. Okay, so standards. The lab materials list. This is a master list for every single thing. So if you ever need if you didn't want to have to search for a specific lab and then go to the materials list, this gives you the layout, a spreadsheet of materials for every single lab, every single unit. So it's all there for you. This is the link to the build instructions. This is something like if you have an LMS, if you have Canvas or Google Classroom, I would put this in a place where students can easily access the build instructions because you're going to want them to be able to have that in front of those build instructions in front of them. So that way you can say, okay, go to your build instructions link and then find the robot arm. And then they click on it. And then, so it's just a fast way. Or you could just go straight to the build instructions, copy that link and put that in your LMS. So whatever you want to do to make it fast and efficient for your class. Let me go back home. So that was your teacher resources. This professional development plus, it costs $1,000. If you want to pay for it, go for it. I don't know if it's worth $1,000. I haven't paid. I'm not going to pay for it. So if I can't tell you or vouch for it or tell you it's worth the money. But it's supposed to have a lot of amazing things on it. And then there's pacing guides, which you can also find in the teacher portal, but they just have them out there for you as well. And then the Vexco Activities. I was going to show you this later, but since we're already here, I'll show you now. These are the ones that are, it's not part of an entire unit, they're just single activities. But I love these so much because you don't always have time for an entire unit, but sometimes especially if you're teaching all 4 subjects, and you're like, I just need like a really cool, really quick lesson to teach my kids about architecture or whatever. Then you can search by all of these subjects. So let's just say geography. So then there's a map challenge here using the Vexco kit to teach maps. I've noticed they keep adding more, so I think you can expect to see more come on here. Engineering, I think we're all familiar with the design challenges, with the spaghetti and the marshmallows, and we've seen those. Something that might be a little bit more fun would be, and this might be a way that you could use it with multiple classrooms because you're just doing a single activity as opposed to building on the next one. You could utilize the activities instead, where you're just saying take out these pieces and then you're going to rescue Joe. You're going to rescue Joe the astronaut. You can only use these pieces, you give them constraints, and then they have to rescue the astronaut using those constraints. So that would be an easy 1-class activity. Put the pieces back, the next class comes in, rescue the astronaut. Put it away, the next class comes in. So that would be a way that if you are not in a place yet where you can share amongst classes, the activities would be a great way to be able to use them.
How did you get to all that again?
Yeah, so if you go, I started on the VEX Robotics page, and then VEX Go. So I'm in the teacher portal. Let me go back and maybe it'll be. This teacher portal, have you seen, did you get here?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So if you go down to this right here, Vexco Activities. And then there's even, like here, they have this, there's so many things they can build that don't involve motors, that don't involve any kind of coding or programming. So there's like the wind-up car, and there's tons that you can teach energy, you can teach, like I said, fractions, time, there's pendulums. I mean, there's just so many things in those activities. So I think this helps to kind of see the big picture of how it's set up because it can be very overwhelming. But that teacher, so the main teacher portal, you have the teacher resources, and with the teacher resources, you have that getting started. That's where you find your picture book, your implementation guide, the what to tell your administrator, the right verbiage to use with them, the standards, the materials, the build instructions, all of that is under the teacher resources. And then we also have that PD Plus, which if you want to purchase it, you can, the Go Activities, and then you also have the direct access to the pacing guide. And then I also linked it here if you want to go straight there. But that's where you want to go and bookmark, because that teacher portal is where you're going to access everything. Okay, any questions on any of that? You ready for a break? Okay, let's see, about 5 minutes. We come back at 10:30. Again, the restrooms are in the green area if you just want to walk around for a little bit, stretch your legs, and we'll come back on in 5 minutes. Try some programming, some coding. So I'm going to see if you guys, I'll help you get there, but if you can go to the teacher portal, scroll down until you find robot jobs. This is what it should look like. Robot jobs, it's 4 labs. So teacher portal, and kind of test you, see if you can find it. Teacher portal, and then scroll down to robot jobs. It's a little ways down, so don't feel like you missed it, probably. Or you could probably search it by coding if you wanted to.
Are these put in like a sequential order for difficulty? Because there might be this ABC.
As far as I know, I think it's ABC. Is it ABC? Are they in ABC order, or are they just random?
They're random.
They're random. I don't know what them.
I think they're ABC order.
No, they're not. I don't know what the rhyme or reason is for their order. But it's a coding one, so you could search by coding. But we're trying to find robot jobs. Here online, we're looking for the robot jobs unit. Teacher portal, scroll down to robot jobs. It's in the teacher portal, and then just scroll down. Yep, just scroll down.
This one or the other one?
Yeah, we can go back. And then just scroll down from there. There you go. Keep going until you find robot, or you can switch those to coding, filter by coding. And then scroll down until you see robot jobs. Click right on. Yep, you got it. Okay, so this is a 4-lab unit, and I love the relevance to real life on this unit because it's talking all about how we use robots today to do jobs that are dirty, that are dangerous, or that are dull. So you might hear kids say, or even adults say, like, robots are going to take over the world, and we're not going to have any jobs left. But in all reality, we need robots to do these types of jobs. Jobs that are too dirty for humans to do, that we don't want to do. Jobs that are too dull, that are repetitive and redundant and very, very boring. Or jobs that are dangerous, where literally a human being could not do that job safely. So there are relevant reasons for robots. And so this unit goes over all of the importance of robot jobs with, I'm going to open up, so we're going to go to Lab 1. So go ahead and open up robot jobs and go to Lab 1. The robot job interview. And this is where we're going to explore the dirty, the dull, and the dangerous jobs that robots can do by building, connecting, and testing the code-based robot. Is everybody on Lab 1? Lab 1. Okay, so Lab 1, and I'm going to scroll down. Here are my goals and standards. Here are my objectives. Here's my connection to the standards. I'm going to go next. Now, I could take the shortcut, but I want you guys to kind of see all of the different components. Here are the materials needed. So this is everything I'm going to need to do this lesson. So let's go ahead and go to the materials list and do the code base build instructions. So we're looking for the code base build instructions, and then you're gonna start building the code base. Do we think we could have this built by 11 o'clock? 24 minutes?
A minute a page.
There you go. Minute a page.
Lab one.
Yep, so lab one, and then the materials list was the code base build instructions. So if you're not quite there, let me go back and do the same steps.
Can you do it again?
Yep. So I'm in lab ones, and then I scroll down to materials needed, and I clicked code base build instructions.
Yeah, see, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So,
Yep, you're good. Go down a little bit further.
oh, I didn't think
I
that.
like that it says dark red.
Yes, exactly. Because the picture of the buildings, the little.
So if I'm here,
Yep.
and I go education.
Yep.
And then
So have you found that's the best way it works to do your business? It's not a good way, I like it.
What's that? I'm getting, oh, yeah, I feel like I'm taking lessons room.
It works with drag shaft.
I'm sorry, code base. Right there now.
Putting on Bradford.
I don't have a share, but you're welcome to use anything, and I'll send it back. And they don't have enough red connectors. Oh, that's always the first to go. Well, I don't want to block that. Oh. I just didn't make the kids sort of work enough. Yeah. They're 8 months. Yeah, with the school year, no, I don't like it.
He's going to today.
Yeah.
How's it going, Joe?
Okay, we're going to try to have our code base done in 11 minutes.
Yeah.
You guys have good plans for tonight, or do you go home tonight?
We're back home.
Going back home.
Natalie has big plans.
Did you guys stay in a hotel last night? Yeah. Downtown?
I did not charge the motor though.
You don't need to charge the motor. The only thing that gets charged is the battery.
The battery.
Yep.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
Giving me encouragement. goodness. So good.
Thanks, Josh.
I just wanna make sure you guys are charged better.
I brought two of the same, so that was actually this
Yeah, but it's sunny. I wish it was in my house. Maybe someone's watching a movie or something.
Do you know if yours is charged?
It is.
Okay.
Oh, I already took that charge.
I did charge mine.
Perfect. Yours should be charged because you're one of ours. The lights are really handy. Two of these fully charged.
Oh,
This one means not charged.
Wrench.
They're just, one of those things.
Oh, maybe I don't have,
This container right here.
okay. Oh, I see, thank you. Oh, I see, maybe there's different people in that.
You can't unlock
Oh, I said 11 minutes, you guys thought it was longer than 18 minutes.
Shoot.
Man.
I wish the dates would say like Florida B.
Yes, no,
Yeah.
They changed it to the colors instead of the, with IQ, it would say 4x8.
Yeah.
I
Right.
like the colors too, but
I wish it said both, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Especially because the grays look very similar. I think those should all be different colors, like clearly different, not different shades of gray, but not 50 shades of gray.
Really big
But,
good
yeah, it's different.
Well, connected to literary.
You're doing great. Only your kids would be like this, right?
They are sometimes.
When they're building.
When they're
yes.
building.
When they're building on their own, but when
Yeah.
it's,
When they're
there's
building.
lots more like parties.
Yeah.
More collaborative.
Sometimes we call
call it arguing, sometimes we call it collaborating.
Exactly.
So these are 2 buys. And I did 3 buys.
Looks right.
Yeah, but then when I go to do this. Oh, I've got the wrong thing.
I did too.
Oh.
I did the
You
exact
didn't
same
get
thing.
the dark gray.
Do it again, or maybe you flip it.
No, I think it's spin it and look at the other side.
I don't know, do it again. And see what this one.
That'd be fine.
While you're building, I just want to show you the front-facing presentation to the students. I love that they show images of robots doing these, like this is a dirty job, they're cleaning the sewer, and then, you know, a dull job, cleaning a pool, and then a dangerous job, like coral reef, exploring. So I think it really helps for them to see the different. Yeah, so if you get done building your code base, I would explore the lab 1 and just look over the lesson so you kind of get an idea of the context of why they're building the code base and what the plan is for it. I was just looking at the lesson plan for this code base. If you finish and you have extra time, you can look at the lesson plan. It looks like online we have 3 people that are done with their code base.
Joe.
Samantha, Matt, Winston.
So is the lesson we would be faster if we were home?
I don't know, maybe. Maybe. So it's a little social experiment. I think we have 2 done in person, so it's kind of neck and neck.
It's not a complete.
Oh, right. Oh, thanks for the reminder.
Sorry, Wednesday. They said your name. Oh, somebody, we have 4 done, 5 done at home, guys.
Are they showing you proof or just saying?
That's a good point. They want
Oh, they
proof,
just
you guys.
typing it in.
Yeah, it's easy to type done, right? But is it actually done?
Yep.
Liz is done, she's showing it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Matt is showing his.
Wait, you need to.
See, that's what I did, we just do it.
Give us this right.
So once you're done, hold off on turning it on. If you're at home, you can turn it on because there's not gonna be an issue with Bluetooth at home. But if you're in person, don't turn it on yet because we're gonna have Bluetooth issues interfering with each other. So our goal is to be done in the next 10 minutes. I think we might even get done before that. also need to make sure that the Vexco Classroom app is downloaded, so if you
I should have that on my phone.
don't have that downloaded, you're gonna wanna get that downloaded. The class, that's the black V, the Vex Classroom app. We also have iPads in here that you can use.
And so I have the email with my doctor's from to screen text. Was it a sound question?
In our pilot, we did have
a couple of teachers that did. And so I left them the little code base.
I actually did.
Well, it depends on, yes. They had a couple apps, but
I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but there was two little bottom things.
they were, when I did their reference, it was, we did fibers. So I think they built for 2 weeks.
As an isolation. What, and naturally, as we receive more from STEM class, so the other these matters, those, the majority of those teachers that are ones in these days, because they're developing curriculum for the very first time, their students new.
On day 6,
A lot of
and after
teachers
the
don't know what they know.
some of the labs, they could go take a part, put away, and be gone with their place. But I know you have maybe 6
Yeah.
built and take apart, and then you take 12 to get it all together. Then you're on day 6, I could pick back.
This first thing I never went like,
Then they don't have to re-go what they already built. They probably keep it that way. So yeah, that's one of the things that
How often do you see your kids at your location?
I see, them once a week.
We see them for a week,
Every day for a week.
every day for a week, and then we rotate, which is much easier than I can do. Trying to sim and build stuff.
yeah, I
My classroom is much
Yeah,
at all.
overlooked right now.
Because there's pieces of build.
I had 2 teachers this year that had to do carpet.
That's what we did last year with most of them.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that. We
Only
went
grades
through
1 and 2
instruction
came every day.
our first couple years. Like here, these some teachers, oh, wait, there's no classroom for you for your first year.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
I got lucky. I was in the new building, it was built in '93, so we didn't have any construction. So I didn't have to worry with being on a part.
Well,
that's why.
This year's even worse, she has the stairs, so she was on one curtain. Like, you can't.
No.
You simple days.
Oh, they're so big.
I've got black stage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I taught all of that.
You have to be okay with like,
Not at all.
and it's,
Did on the vibe, that's so.
there's so many things this day.
Yes.
Will we need to be looking at this and at the same time?
No,
Okay.
just the app is fine. This is all I'm gonna show you is just a screenshot or a visual of it.
Okay.
This is teacher only, so the students do not access this app. This is solely for the teacher to stay organized and to keep track of everything in the room. So I said don't turn on your robot brain yet, because as soon as you guys all turn on your brains, mine as well as all of yours is gonna start showing up, all of them on here. Now the ones that belong to us, I've already numbered them, so they have a number and it would say TPF or Y number 1, and then if your brain says 1, then you know that's you. But if for anyone else, is this the very first time you're turning them on? very first time, not there. So did you already name yours? Okay, so turn yours on.
I think that it's just one.
Yep. ONE1?
Yep.
Okay, so she just turned hers on, so now I see that her robot is called One. And I also see that it's red, which means it needs to be updated. So every single day, if you know you're going to use the brains, if you know that you're building something that's going to require the brain, I would highly recommend turning it on and make sure you update it ahead of time. They're pretty consistent on updates, and it can be a little annoying, but at the same time, you know it's always going to work well if it's always being updated. And it's convenient. You don't have to, with IQ, you not anymore, with the Gen 2, you don't have to go with the Gen 1 on IQ, you have to like plug it in your computer and update it, and it just takes forever. So I'm gonna click on One, which is her robot, and this is where I can rename it. I can also locate it. So if I'm trying to clean up and I'm like, okay guys, where's robot One? It will start, it'll actually turn yellow. So then I'll say whose is yellow right now or whose is blinking, and then I know that's the one I'm looking for. I need you to bring that to turn it in so that we can clean up class. So since it needs updated, I'm gonna click update. And then I think hers should be, flashing red and green because it's updating. So if it's flashing red and green, you don't want them to touch it because it needs to update. So that's going to start updating, which it might actually be faster on a mobile, like on a phone than on here, but we'll see how long this takes. Sometimes it just goes like that, and then other times it takes a little bit longer. I have noticed it goes faster on a phone, at least in this room it does. So we might switch that over to a phone if we don't see that bar moving. Okay, but once it starts updating, I can't do anything else with this because it's updating. So I would have to grab another device to do the other one. So that's updating. If you, let's see, let's start here. Go ahead and turn yours on. Or somebody, does somebody else have theirs on? Because we already. Okay, so it automatically says VEX GO as soon as you turn it on. So this, you can kind of see what this would be like in the classroom. If we have two people that turn theirs on and they both say VEX GO. And so in order to find out who belongs to who, what should we do?
One of them shut off.
We could either shut one off, or you could click on one and click locate, see which one turns yellow, and then that's the one it belongs to.
And so once you name them, that will be a permanent.
Exactly.
problem.
Is yours flashing
Yours
yellow?
flashing yellow?
Mine's flashing green.
Or green?
Okay, it's flashing green, so that first one was
Yep,
hers.
so then if you go back, now, so that one should be yours.
Was it not still flashing?
No.
Oh, no, that is, that hers is yellow now, so that's,
That's
maybe
weird.
they moved on the list.
Okay, so let's try the bottom one again.
Yeah,
Still flashing.
so you can kind of see what a mess this would be in a classroom for the very first time. So I would recommend before you use them for the very first time, like I went to every single box, I opened up, I charged my batteries, I turned on my brain one at a time, opened my classroom app, named it, TPFRY1, labeled the brain a 1, put it back in the box, done. Went to the next one, opened it up, turned on the brain, named it TPFRY2. So that's what I would recommend before you give them to students. I would label them.
So that means that's me.
Exactly. So now you can rename it to whatever you want.
Would that rename it all of ours or just hers?
Nope, just hers. Okay, did you already rename yours?
No, I shut it off.
Okay, you shut it off. Okay, so it's,
I'm not on. So that was hers.
I already turned mine on.
okay, so go ahead and turn it on. Okay, so yours is fine because I paired those before you came in. So that's see the ease of that. It's like already done, good to go, and it's updated. So who is A1?
That's me.
Okay, so you want to update since yours is red. And then we have another Vexco on now. Okay, so you want to go ahead and rename it. Well, make sure that we have two Vexcos on there now. So they're all going to be called Vexco as soon as you turn them on.
So when it starts
You're good.
flashing, you can rename it?
Should I turn mine on or wait?
I would wait just.
So if it's flashing.
So I'm trying to find this little guy real quick.
Now you can rename it.
There's one right here flashing.
Will this always be the same name that I named it
Always.
now? Okay, good.
Forever. Yep. Yeah, just like with this one, I had named it 2 before you guys came in, so when she turned hers on, it was easy. It had already said 2, she knew that was her, no big deal.
Oh, you traded me, do you remember what this was?
Well, I just traded you batteries, so the brain should still be the same.
My brains are
Brainless right now.
But you could rename it, like if I realized that I named two of them number 2, I could go
You
on
can
and
rename
change
it
it
anytime. Yep. Yeah, so which one is you?
I didn't know.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead and click on 1. So at any time, you could just go to rename or rename.
So mine still can't find it. It's like,
And you need to turn that one on.
Alrighty.
so that could be more right there.
That's probably you right there. But just to make sure, we're going to do locate, and this is going to turn yellow.
Anyway, we're CC,
Okay, so locate.
Just because there's already something.
That's you. Somebody else have theirs on?
Probably not if I'm keeping.
Oh wait, this is you. Is this LS? Did you already rename it?
I have to label name. Why am I?
Anybody turning yellow?
Mine's updated, but then it's still blinking.
It'll probably stop here in just a second.
So if it's red, do we have to update it?
Yes. It also shows you the battery life on it once you have it connected. That's helpful. Is anybody turning yellow? So if you haven't yet, go ahead and get yours connected. I think we have just a few left, so it should be easy to figure out which one's which.
We should do ours. We have to turn on ours.
Yeah, you can go ahead and turn them on. Just make sure you locate it and have the right one before you pair it. Andy, are they okay at home? Theirs should be easy because they don't have to compete with the Bluetooth in the room. Let's wait until everybody else connected and see what's left. That way. Okay, you're updating. You're connected. Are you connected? Okay, perfect. You're updating. Updating.
Should we be showing everybody the ones?
So it has to be this one or this one? So, and then yours will be the same, right?
Never mind.
Yep, so we're trying to click on the first one. And then you locate. Yep, that's you. So now you'll rename it. Whatever you want. So then, after she saves hers, then we'll know which one's you. Okay. Yeah, you can change it at any time. Okay, so she just all of those, that has to be you, but just to confirm. We'll do
Are you done
locate.
updating?
Yeah, you can add it.
Just got
And
done,
so I just
yeah.
made it.
Okay, so then
Yeah.
rename that,
Save
whatever
it
you
as
want
the
to
image
do.
and then upload the images.
Do it as well.
Brilliant. I love it. So they're all really pretty. It's so cute.
So I'm probably the last
That's
one.
great.
Is this one for anybody?
Yes.
Did anybody name theirs LSPLTW1? Anybody?
Mine is LSPLTW1.
Oh, yours is, okay.
I need it.
My neighbor Warren.
Yeah, I used to teach it in person.
And then
Oh,
who
okay.
has TPF for Y2? This one?
That's me.
That's you, okay, perfect.
Is it closer or you just going more?
One is actually like 5 minutes from my driveway. to my
Oh,
school.
then yes, that's huge.
Sometimes we have to be at 7:35, close the garage door at 7:35.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm supposed to be watching Breakfast Duty at 7:30.
But I think that's the same as this.
It's a 10-minute drive. I could do it in 7.5 Anywhere between 7.5 and 12.
Yeah, that's,
But if I started at 8, it would take a heck of a lot longer, because the amount of people dropping their kids off is insane.
I think it,
I found out one morning the hard way when I hit a deer on my way to work. And I got stuck in the parent traffic. I couldn't even get in the car.
Yeah, I made it close like that. I was like, well, I guess I'm on the road.
Yeah, even when we got a new
Can I
traffic
be
light
on my
on Fox,
iPad
but even
and
with
phone?
that, beginning end of the day, they have to be out there directing. There's still the cops out there.
Okay, I'm gonna get everybody started. I'm gonna try Okay, we're gonna move on to the coding platform. So all coding is done at Vexco Go, and you can either do it from the app. So it can either be app-based or it can be web-based. Either one is perfectly fine. On the app-based, you'll have the option, you'll have two tabs. You'll have coding tab, I'll show you here in a second, and then you'll have a driving tab. The driving tab is, I don't see a lot of educational value in it, to be completely honest with you. It tends to just cause a lot of chaos because the kids just want to drive it everywhere instead of coding it. Some iPads, so that you have to have an iOS iPad 12 or higher in order to be able to download the Vexco app. But the web-based one is codego.vex.com, and that is, so you can use that link right there. Another link that you might want to bookmark, and you definitely want your kids to bookmark it or put it in their LMS as where to go to program. The coding looks a lot like Scratch or a lot of other coding platforms that you're used to. So you can actually do it from a laptop or from the app itself. And here's what I was referring to with the code and then the drive. The drive tab, it's touch screen, and so they just use their thumbs to drive it. Like I said, I don't see a lot of educational value in it. However, it does have like X, Y, it has torque, so if you're doing some math involved as far as like speed and all that kind of stuff, it could be helpful there. But that's the only component I find is educational. The rest of it I think is just a distraction. So I would just say you stay on the coding side of things. So go ahead and open that up either on a mobile device or on your laptop. And I'll show you there are lots of tutorials on here. This is the drive tab, so you could technically do this on your computer, but it'd be very tricky with your cursor to be able to drive it. That's why an iPad is better, but it is helpful to kind of see. There's a lot going on here, but as you move up or move down, you'll see the acceleration, the XYZ change, the velocity will change, the rotation, the sensors, the bump. So for those students that maybe need a little bit more of a challenge, you could definitely introduce them to this, but just know that it can also be a distraction because then they feel like they're just racing cars instead of programming. So we're going to stick with the code side of things. Once you're here, you're going to want to go to this right here so that we can add the code base. So I already have the code base on mine. If you don't have the code base, then you need to add a device and then click on code base. And then done. And then as soon as you do that, you'll see those motion blocks that will pop up on the coding side. Without that code base, it doesn't know that you're going to have any movement. So you have to say, okay, I'm adding a code base so that then it knows to populate the movement blocks. No, you're fine.
yeah, I'm still trying to connect. It says it's connected, but I'm going to flash it.
You'll flash.
Oh, I will?
Yep. So you'll want to go here to add the device. And then code base.
Code base.
And done. And then you'll see, then you'll have all of your movement blocks. Perfect. Let's do, can you go back to the presentation?
Oh,
Like speak faster than
This one?
there we go. And then we'll go down here to this. So then now you have those motion blocks. Oh, so it doesn't, you don't have a, you don't have the iPad. Do you have the app downloaded by any chance? Okay, I'm gonna swap you with one. So if your iPad isn't current enough or whatever, then you have to, it has to be app-based.
And this is one of yours.
Oh. Well, then the app should be on there. Even better. There we go. Yeah. There we go. And then, so then you're gonna add a device. Code base. And then done. Okay.
It's actually called.
Is that one yours? Did anybody name theirs Aurora? Aurora? Anybody name theirs Aurora? That's you.
And that's this thing.
That's this. Okay.
And that.
Was it your son playing with it?
I think that's stop.
No, not my computer. He's like trying to sit on.
Oh, okay.
So I think you exchange it.
I give you a battery on brain.
Some of my pictures come out and then
I gave you this.
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
So it's a mystery how it got named Aurora. Okay, next up, you guys, we need, we downloaded, we added code base, so now that they know we need these motion blocks. Now we have to connect it to our code base. So right here where it says brain, we're gonna select that drop down on brain, and we're gonna say connect. This is where you need to know the name of your brain. So whatever you named it, that's gonna pop up, and you're gonna wanna connect it to your named robot. So like for the TPF for Y ones, I labeled it 2, so I'd find the one that says TPF for Y2. So I'll show you again. So brain, connect, find your robot name, and then click pair. So brain, connect. Everybody doing okay at home?
So far, I asked them, they said, doing great.
All right, nice.
Are you guys doing great in here?
Are we doing great?
Yeah. I'm where I'm supposed to be, so.
So whenever you open the coding, 2 steps. First, connect the device, or I'm sorry, not, let me back up. First, add the device so that you have the motion blocks. Second, connect the actual physical brain, connect the robot. So you have to add the device so they know that you need those motion blocks, and then you have to connect it so that it will communicate between the coding and the physical robot that you built. Make sense? Are we getting connected? I see robots moving, so that's a good sign.
It says when started, should I shut it off and turn it back on?
No, you want to leave it on. When started just means that when you hit start, it's going. So when you hit the start button at the top, it's going to do that motion.
Right there was a start.
Yep. So take a few minutes, play around with it, drag some blocks over, test it out. If you want to try the remote control, try that out. Take just a few minutes, and then we're going to look at the part 2 of the robot jobs lesson that has specific coding involved. So take a few minutes, play around with the blocks, just drag them and drop them in, hit start, and so you can kind of see what your robot will do.
Is that what you said? Where's the start? Up at the top of your screen.
Right up there, next to the brain.
Yeah, that's.
Just make sure it's not uniform off the table.
Here's an example one, so if you're not sure what to do, you can always copy off of mine. It's just when started, set the drive velocity to 50%, so you can show kids how to make it go faster or slower by changing the velocity. And then for 10 times, it's gonna go forward, turn right. So basically, it's going to end up making a square.
Mine didn't turn right.
It did not turn right?
It's not starting.
You can use the floor. You're welcome to use the field that we have back there. We can always move the field to the floor if you prefer. Oh, I did it. Maybe it's on the floor.
Okay.
Or it could be that your motors are plugged in
Flip it in wrong.
backwards.
Could be.
It's not turning, is it?
Every time I ask to say, you can just hit cancel and that's why.
That would be crisscross.
Don't ask me for something.
I do have crisscross.
What happens when they're all wired? Shared iPad.
Oh.
So I have to teach them to actually save it, like, to the iPad.
Did it make sense?
Troubleshoot this.
Kind of wrong. I'm using this for second and third grade. My second graders just got iPads.
Oh, you need a
So it would just be
turn, sorry. You need a turn right 90 degrees instead of turn right. Because it's thinking just like a slight right, where you need to tell it how far right to turn.
Okay. Take this one out.
Yep.
Oops.
Oh.
No, all right.
So when it doesn't say, does that mean it's not an option or?
Let's move this out of the way. Let's move it. Try it again. There we go.
So you can't see their codes from the classroom?
Not from the classroom app, no. If you ever wanted then, like if you wanted to see it, you could kind of take a screenshot of it, put it somewhere. But ultimately, if the robot is performing the way it's supposed to, then you know that it's
Doesn't
yeah, exactly.
And how do I make it do it? All right, now it's working. Now I tell it to go. You got the coding in there? I know, that's, I had to be told to. Fiber names.
I think we remembered all of them.
I was gonna say
And number
definitely,
this.
definitely keeping them numbered.
And then names on their number written out. So
Yeah.
I did all of that, but then.
Yeah, some are taking out this plastic insert and just saying like, the one box is all these pieces, the second box is all these pieces. Some are even turning communal, where they're putting all of it together in one communal space, which it just depends on your space, what works.
I went through and took all of these out because they can't get them back in.
And you don't
live,
use
and they're
them,
in one box.
you don't use them that often.
Right.
So that does make a lot of sense just to take all of the sensors out.
We took all the sensors and all the motors.
Yeah.
Because they just can't.
Yeah, and then when they need a motor, they know where
Go
they are,
grab
they
it,
go
right.
grab one, yep.
I made those communal, but.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, it was very poor design that they did not put the charging port, or they didn't have to change the design of this, they just need to change the design of the code base itself.
Right.
So that this is facing the other direction, because you have to take this off to get the battery out.
Right.
Because I've seen a lot of classrooms will build the code base and they'll just do a ton of with this. Yep. And so then the kids, then they start with the code base and then they start getting busy, so, it would be a lot nicer. I mean, and they even, like, it's right here, like,
But you
you just
can't
can't
get
get it in there.
Right.
So that would be really nice if this is But I've seen a lot that just, they turn them in, they just stack the cases. And then when they come back in, then you know, like, one was me, I need to get those back out and finish what I was working on in the last class. I don't know if you've seen the storage things that they have, but they're really nice, that Vex has.
Oh, their cart?
Mm-hmm.
I
They're
got
so
some
expensive.
for the- Yeah, that's when I got 2 carts, I think, just to try them out of the Max IQ cards. I used 8 kids a class, and it holds 6. It's like this, just, like
Yeah.
my classes are too big for
Right.
what you're giving
Right.
me.
Right.
And then they don't, I have a normal classroom that just became the same class.
Yeah.
And so they just don't fit next to
Yeah.
me anymore.
Yeah.
There's part of that one.
Yeah. I would be the teacher that would be like, I want everything back exactly as it belongs.
See,
so that
that's how I
closes
am.
perfectly.
That's how I am, that's why I had to
Throw it all
Yeah,
in.
and that's, it's different for everybody. I mean, we all spend different amounts of time in the procedures that are important to us, you know?
these little boxes, I don't look at, but I was going through,
I know.
I had to check every
Just when I
one with
Yep.
the metal pieces.
And you
And
had,
then
well,
Well,
I got
I will all
classrooms
assignments out, so. That's another time I would pull
that I
out
had.
Yeah.
until you need them for a specific
So like
lesson
when I
because
started
they will be so
teaching
distracted by the
Oh,
comments.
they're
Rated
hearing.
artists,
Oh,
so they
yeah.
had one card for all
Yeah, I
of
would
the
pull,
adults.
that's what I used to do for
I just
IQ.
physically
Yeah, I
said,
pulled
I took
every
all of
single
them.
time.
You
In order to
used to much more work in our stuff.
Yep.
Times of stuff, and
Just
then
figure every move.
kids there's certain apps that are on those iPads that I can't put on kids' iPads.
It's just not
Are you
a
looking at
good place while it's attached to
Like
the
the-
code base.
Either way, after the first day, when said to go, that just be an iPad.
So,
With the code base design, you have no choice but to take the brain off.
you could be doing the
You
same.
can clarify a lot on
It's
the
harder to do.
Building a robot is
It was for,
Yeah.
And like,
So this is Matt's question online, but I think it might help everybody. He was asking about charging, because a lot of classrooms will build the code base and then just keep it built, and then do like lots of activities with the code base, because I would say there's lots of lessons that involve the code base for the super code base, where you just add things to it, add sensors to it, and things like that. But unfortunately, the design of the code base, the battery, you can't access the port to charge the battery. So if you're going to keep your code base together and use it in multiple classrooms, you have no choice but to take the brain off the top and then take the battery out to charge it. So the port, where's Lisa? The port is, the charging port is right here. And it's impossible, it's right, the charging port is right here, so it's impossible to get that charging cord in there. Like this is my, like just barely, like what were they thinking? I mean, like really, what were they thinking? So you have no choice but to take the brain, which is, it's not like you're taking the whole thing apart. It's just frustrating because it's just one extra step, but you would have to take this brain off and take the battery out to charge it and then put it back on when the next class comes in, kind of thing. But the battery life is really good. It lasts definitely an entire class day. So our pilot teachers, they gave us the feedback that they could have a fully charged battery and go through 6-7 classes, no problem. So you shouldn't have to charge it throughout the day. That's the good news. This button on the outside will show you the charging level. So when you push it, I see one green light, which shows me it's about 50%. So that does help. So throughout the day, you could push that button to make sure the battery life is where it needs to be. It will turn red if there's no charge. Does that answer your question, Matt?
he said yes.
Cool. Okay, any other questions on coding? I don't feel the need to go into like a in-depth lesson on coding unless you guys need that or want that. As long as you guys understand how to, the most important thing is that you know how to connect the device and add the device to the coding platform. And you can see that there's the drivetrain or the code-based drivetrain is going to be your most important one that you're going to add the most, but there are other, as you add sensors and things, you'll add other devices. So I'm going to show you the Go Activities. This is what I was referencing earlier, but this is just one slide dedicated to the activities. There's a scavenger hunt that is looking for specific pieces in your kit. That's the multiplication row that I referenced earlier, where speed your way through your facts. So it could be a station, it could be an activity that you do where the kids are just practicing their multiplication facts. The astronaut rescue that I talked about, compare it, use your Vexco pieces to practice using comparative and superlative adjectives. I don't even know what those are. It's been a long time since I've taught language arts. But those are just 4 examples. There's lots of them there, but those are those one activities that you can filter by subject, or you can filter by build. So if you know for a fact, like I don't have all the material, like you were referencing about not having the materials for every single class, you could filter that by the build. Like I don't have enough to build the code base, but I have enough to build maybe a robot arm or whatever it may be. So Vexco, Vex IQ obviously is competition, 100% competition, and then also using the classroom to project lead the way, but Vexco does have an optional competition component. So this is 100% optional. I can't stress it enough. Like no one is encouraging you or pushing you to do this, but I just like for you to be aware that it's out there, and it's really cool if you decide you want to take it to the next level and do it. There is no qualifications, there's no awards, there's no like registration of teams. It's 100% whatever you want it to be. But this competition kit is an additional $300, so you do have to pay extra for it. But it would make for like a perfect after-school activity, a STEM club. It would make for a perfect like grade level competition. So maybe the entire 2nd grade is going to do this Vexco competition. Like maybe it's a STEM night, you're going to do a competition. The competition kit comes with 4 different themes. So you've got the ocean, the city, the village, and Mars. And they're very well designed, very well done. And when you pay the $2.99, you get the field tiles and the perimeter, but then you get 4 different sets. So you can set up whichever one you want, whichever design you like, whichever challenge you like. The link here has more information on the competition. So it has it has suggested scoring and rules, but you can change it to whatever you want it to be. So that's the nice thing about it. It's very flexible. You can be creative with it. Here is running a Vexco competition if you wanted to. Here's the Vexco competition template. There are some suggested robot builds for the challenge. Let me see if I can find you. Getting started with the Vexco. So it will have like step 1 mission selection. So choose which mission you want to do. That's the field you're going to set up. So you read the story. This is coming soon, where it has a whole story behind it. So there's a relevant like challenge connected to it that you share with the students. And then you build the field. And then you build a robot to work for the challenge. You can see that there's a lot of similarity to the Vex IQ. And then you practice driving. So you can do the driving, or you can have the coding, either one. And then you can move on to another mission, or you can host like a mock competition. You could even order trophies or medals if you wanted to, like just make it your own. I like that they have this option. I like that it's optional and you don't have to do it. But if you needed something, if you're trying to get STEM certified at your school, this might be a great like community event to do. And I don't think $300 is that bad when you think about getting the 4 different challenges. But there is suggested scoring and everything that you need to do that. So I just wanted to point that out, that you have that as an option. Here is a list of resources that I've been kind of referencing throughout the morning. So there's a direct link to all of your build instructions. There's a direct link to the VEX Robotics store. That's where you could buy the competition kit. There you have storage possibilities there, storage options. Additional field tiles, additional kits, additional classroom bundles. The STEM labs, there's a direct link to your teacher portal for all the STEM labs and lessons. There is the direct link to the VEX Code platform that we were just on. The TPF for Y robot resource page, that's through our website. I'm starting to get adding more Go resources to that page, so that would be a great place for you to go as well for resources. The Facebook page that the Facebook group that I referenced, that would be a great place for you to go and connect. We only have like 25 teachers on there right now, so it's kind of fun. You guys are all pioneering something brand new in Indiana, so it's just neat to connect with other teachers. And if you have a question, like, you know, or like exactly like you were, tell me your name, sorry, Jillian. If you are she was just asking like the pilot teachers, like what did they find was the best for storage? Like that would be a great platform to go on there and say, hey, how's everyone storing their equipment? Like what's working for you? Because you could get some really great ideas. It's new for all of us. It's new for all of Indiana. So we're gonna be able to connect on that level and get some resources that way. There is the VEX knowledge base, which has troubleshooting tips, product-specific information that you can search on there. The VEX blog has some helpful tips and relevant updates. And then lastly, the Educator Certifications. This, I went through, like I spent months digging into Vexco and felt like I knew it, like I've got this. But then I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and do the Educator Certification. And when I did that, I learned even more about Vexco. And you watch videos and you read, and then you take these little quizzes at the end. And if you're the kind of likes the digital badges on your signature, on your email, like this is for you. I mean, if you just want to be a master of Vexco, the certification is a great way to do that. And they have it for IQ and BRC as well, but they do have the Vexco certification. Andy?
So I want to know when the VEX competition is. Specific?
No, it is not. Like it's not something you register. It's something only that it's whenever you want it to be. If you want a competition, then you host a competition. You don't have to. There's no like accountability. You don't have to register, report it to anyone. You could do it in your district. Like you could do elementaries together in your district. You could do it just in your building with different classrooms together. It could be an end of the year thing. I mean, the possibilities are endless. But yeah, it's not like an organized thing. It's a very optional. Use it how you want to use it. Yeah. And then I think not my last slide, but this is some feedback. I can read it all to you, but this is what jumped out at me as far as feedback from our pilot teachers. So you're welcome to look through this and kind of see what worked well for them. There's good things on here, and there's even some bad things on here because we need the bad things. We need to hear what didn't go well so that we know how to alleviate those problems and do the very best for our students. So not everything on here is positive, but I think it does help to kind of hear some things from them. So you can go back to this, of course, and read through that. And then as a grant recipient, you do have a couple of requirements. I don't feel like it's very much. You do need to complete at least one unit. That's 4 to 6 lessons. Well, if you do the frog one, that's 2 lessons. So we don't feel like that's asking very much, but in order for you to know if you like it and if it's working for you, you need to complete at least 1 unit. I think most of you will probably do more than that, but we want you to do at least 1 unit at some point during your school year. If you decide that it's not for you, then please don't let the equipment collect dust. It's not cheap, and there are 50 more schools that would be happy to take it off your hands. So I just said that to say, like, if it's not a good fit for you, that's fine. No big deal. Just let us know. And then you will either return it to us, or you can pass it on to a school that doesn't currently have Vexco. It can't be a school that already has Vexco. It has to be a school that doesn't currently have it. But you'll just need to let us know about that so we can keep track of where the equipment is. So that's all. We just don't want it to collect dust. We want kids to be able to use it. So if you're not going to use it, just let us know. And then pre and post surveys. So this is how we collect data so that we can share with potential donors to say this many students, and these are the demographics, and these are the locations, and this is what teachers are saying. That helps us raise more money so that we can get more equipment. So we need those surveys, but we're going to give you a $50 Amazon card when you turn in your pre, and then again when you turn in your post. So we are going to give you those gift cards for doing it because we know you guys are busy. We know you've got a lot going on. You're helping us by doing it. So we are going to give you those gift cards that you can use how you want to. Yeah. So it'll be beginning of the school year, end of the school year. So I only need 1 survey at the end of the school year, and I'll send you an email that says, okay, it's time for your post survey. After this training, I will send you an email that has the presentation. It has a link to the presentation, so you can reference that whenever you need to. And then we'll also have a link to these are here obviously, but I will also put it in that email as well. So you'll have a link to your teacher pre-survey. And then I need you to select at least 1 class of students that you give the survey to, And then please give the same survey to the same, use the same kid so we can kind of compare. Because we ask on that survey questions like, do you think you're good at math? Do you think you're good at science? Do you plan to go to college? You know, things like that so that we can compare. After using Vexco, does it change their perspective? Does it change their mindset on STEM and on their future? So there are two different, if you're doing it with K through 12, K through 2, then there's a link for them. It's geared younger, so it's easier for them. And then 3 through 6, there's a link for theirs. And just one class of students is fine. If you can do more, that's great. But we just need a minimum of one class of students that you can do that, conduct that survey with. So at the beginning of the school year, so I would say just before you start using it. It's not like this is by August, it doesn't matter, as long as it's sometime at the beginning of the school year. And then this post-survey I'll send at the end of the school year to get that data. Were there any questions about grant requirements? Does it seem doable? Okay, and then the Amazon gift card will come to you digitally, so you'll have that. It'll just come to your email as soon as that comes. I try to do that like in batches, so you may not see it immediately after you turn in your surveys, but soon afterwards. Okay, it's 11:40, you guys. Wow, I've never gotten done this fast. Is there any other questions? Just like a teacher, I'm allowing time at the end for cleanup, so you can do it properly. Okay, any questions online, Andy?
Can you show me one more time to get to the one-day activities you were showing earlier?
So you're in the active